Welcome, very, very welcome to the first ever episode with another coach here in Quinto Quarto. A new format in English, a new way of doing things. I'm way out of my comfort zone, so it's going to be a fun year for me. With me today, I have Emiliano Rey, a coach from Spain. That it's amazing to speak about this because we met through Instagram, through a coaching group in WhatsApp. So that's one thing that I think, and we can talk about this later. But how do you feel that COVID helped you with this? Because my connections overseas were all after COVID. So first of all, Emiliano, thank you very much for being here with us today. And present yourself first, and then we go on with our conversation.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for the invitation. You are talking about out of the comfort zone. I'm doing the same. I'm coming here, first time ever. So let's get some fun together. Yes, you mentioned that we connect through a group, and then we talk through Instagram, and we keep connected. I think it's great. After COVID happens, it was sucks for everyone. We suffer. Some people die, but however, I think we took positive start from that. Like that's one of the things with positive. We managed to connect to different coaches to learn, to try to involve even we were at the houses. So I think that's one positive thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing like as you mentioned, I was born in Argentina and then I started coaching in Spain. I was there 2 3 years in a very humble club when I was starting. At that time, I was study HND, a 2 years course after baccalaureate.
Mm-hmm.
I really started getting into coaching. Plus, then I discovered that it was something that I wanted to pursue a career from. And then I moved to Scotland. I have a 4 years degree there, a bachelor's degree. So I enjoyed it. I was coaching Glasgow University at that time. I managed to connect with a Greek coach that he took me under his arm. So he taught me so many things. So I'm blessed for that. And then after those 4 years, I moved to England, to Reading. We have a good experience over there. Like we're playing national Division One, second division, second tier
Mm-hmm.
in UK. And it was great. Last year, I had the chance to work with a very experienced coach from Azerbaijan, Samit Ennusuri. He will kill me because I don't pronounce his surname right, but sorry about that. But and then right now I'm currently coaching in Sweden, Superettan, with a coach, a young coach from Sweden, from here, uh, Eric Ugarte. So I have the chance to work with him, and we have a really good relationship on and off the court, and we are we're doing great so far. We are
Mm-hmm.
2-1, 2 wins, one loss, and we have a game today. So really looking forward to that.
So there's some things I want to catch up from what you say now. For first of all, you come from Argentina, you go to Spain, Scotland, England, and then Sweden. Like so different. Spain not that much because it's Latin culture, like Portugal, like Italy. But then you go to Scotland, that is more closed, more gray culture as you can speak because it has less sun. And then you go to Sweden, to the Nordics. So how's that been? How those experiences have like helped you develop your even yourself as a person but also as a coach, like being adaptable at those cultures.
So first of all, I think that's you just mentioned it. Like you need to be flexible. You cannot be only in one direction. Like I do this and I'm gonna do every single time like this because it's impossible. Then you got different levels, different players, different cultures. That the cultures, like it or not, it affects the basketball. You are
Mm-hmm.
in Italy, you know how much passion is for basketball. In Spain, is the same. In
Mm-hmm.
Greece, is similar. So they live it because it's like life for them. So here in Sweden, it's not like that. But then in my club at the LAC in the south, we are like a family, like a group. Like is not really big here in Sweden. Is handball is really important, really apart from football. In Glasgow and in England, obviously football. So cultural wise is different. So not all the kids go to play basketball, but it's good that they got this amount of kids going to play and it's growing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so off the court, I managed to adapt myself. I'm really open and try to learn different things. Um, for me, the best thing is like catch up with somebody. Let's go Swedish, Scottish, English. Go there and ask them about the culture. Try to understand how they think. That will help me for me to say, okay, I should go this approach. This is the approach I like it. Maybe if it doesn't work this way, I could have tried something like somebody had mentioned to me. So that's my way of going.
No,
So
that's very important that you mentioned, like being adaptable to all situations. For me, it's one of the skills that is most important for a coach and even for a player, because I'm now in Italy, but next year I can be, I don't know, in Saudi Arabia or Qatar, just like an hypothesis, and it's really, really different. So, or Sweden, and even Sweden. So, I think it's very important for you to mention that being adaptable and trying to be flexible and trying to get, for me, that's the most important part. Trying to be a part of the culture, trying to understand, okay, when this happens, how do you manage to do, how you manage stress, how you manage daily basis. So, um, but I think also as you as a person, like, has helped you being more comfortable with challenge for yourself, or no? I mean, like being here now in the podcast, going to like because if I remember correctly, it was you that approached me for the first time we talked in a story in Instagram. I don't
yes, probably,
I don't
probably.
remember,
I,
but
yeah.
what I remember from you is that, like, you just try to understand why we do this, or try to say your part, or that give your opinion. Do you think that those abilities that you have now came from you getting out of your comfort zone and going abroad to all these different cultures, or is something that is inept in you?
No, I think like a part could be inhabited me, but I believe like it have been growing since I've been out of my comfort zone.
Hmm.
Just thinking this way, in at 20 years old, I went too far from my family, from my friends, from my girlfriend, from everyone, into a new culture that you don't know. You don't know really well the language. You know the language, but not great
Hmm.
to go and live. And you got good moments, bad moments, right? But I think you can learn from all of that. Like um, you in life or in basketball, you're gonna be great and have moments that awesome. Everything is going well. Everything goes on your right. But what is define you as a human being or as a basketball player or as a coach is like how do you fight back? How do you stand up? Like you
Hmm.
fell, you're gonna fall so many times, but how I react to that? Maybe the first time I don't react well. I don't take in. I don't know. I'm bad. I feeling bad. I don't react in the right way. But maybe something similar happens, and I could react in different ways. So that means like the growth of the coach is the person and the players. That's key for me,
That's
and
amazing.
that
That's amazing.
and that
Yeah.
helped me obviously in the coaching wise.
And now going to basketball, because we are here to talk about also basketball. When we were talking about doing this, I told you, throw subjects, throw something you'd like to talk to, and to talk me about, like, really, really quickly, Spain pick and roll is something that you are passionate about. Is like, it's something that you usually use, you like to use. If yes, why? Let's have some context here on why you choose this subject.
Yeah. Well, I love pick and roll. I think I could spend 20 days talking about pick and roll. Only pick and roll. that
Yes.
that's the first thing. And nowadays basketball is everything is pick and roll. You can start it from the pick and roll. You can put in the middle. You can end it up with a pick and roll. That's most of the time. But I don't know. I like it. And because I'm Spanish, we say, "Hey, let's talk about the Spanish pick and roll," because I
Of
think there
course.
is a nice story from that, and it's a huge discussion where it came from, where it goes to. So and yes, I was also asking in the office, like, would you guys, would you think I could talk about that? And like, why you don't talk about Spanish pick and roll? And I say, okay, we all agree in the same. Let's try it out.
No, but
Um,
it's fun because I've read about Spanish pick and roll a lot. I've seen a lot of Spanish pick and roll. Even here in Aquila, some action have Spanish pick and roll, but I never tried it myself. Of course, I'm always with some level of youth teams. I never tried, and I was very excited to do this because I had to do some research. You had to do some research. We are going to talk about a lot of things,
yeah.
and I'm really excited to talk about. But the thing that I think I'm most excited is for us to talk that how is created, because some people think that the Spanish pick and roll was created by Scariolo in 2014 or 16, but you managed to get an article from 1992 from the greatest team of all sports, Boston Celtics, for me, that they use Spanish pick and roll. Do you know how the Spain pick and roll appeared? How was the story? Because I heard the story a few years ago, but I don't know if it's the right one. So you tell how you know Spain pick and
Okay.
roll appear, and then I'll say go.
So I will tell you the story first, then I will tell you what I researched and what I found. So I always love Spanish pick and roll from 15, 16. I think is when Scariolo started using it really, really heavily, and is why they face the Americans and everyone say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
now this is a Spanish pick and roll. So for me, I always like that. Like I think it's a really nice action, and I think it's an action you could use everywhere, even if you don't defend it really well. It's always gonna give you an advantage because it's so many actions and it's really hard to defend. Um, but I love that, and I research about that, and I always been involved. And the story I heard from, Scariolo is saying that he was in practice and he was trying to avoid the two side because he was playing pick and roll in the middle. And then all of the sudden, like how I could do like to avoid the bump or the help from the weak side, and I tried with this one. And all of the sudden, like he was on practice and he was going a middle pick, and all of the sudden, one of his players, his three, he recognized it that it came from this, like that he decided to he was lost on the play, and all of the sudden he screens the roller's defender. So all of the sudden the point guard hit the roller with a lob and it's a dunk, and Escariola was like, okay, this is not meant to be happening, but we can do something with this, like no, we didn't see before, so maybe we can use it. And with work and everything they decided to develop it, and that's how it became a Spanish pick and roll.
Yeah, I heard a similar story also. That the story that I heard was like it was more they were trying to get the spacing right, but it was always a player that was off the spacing or was just going at the same time as the roller were going to the rim. They were going straight middle to the restricted area, and just out of the sun. Okay, then if I do a pick here, maybe I'm not out of the play, but I'm doing something. So it's amazing, and I think that this speaks to all basketball actions. It's amazing how in after 100 years of basketball can still doing different things and discover different things, and I think that's the most important thing about playing basketball and coaching basketball, being creative with everything we have. But we are talking about Scario in 2016, but do
Yeah.
we really know who used it for the first time? Is there
So
a
I don't know. I heard that also Trinkieri is saying that it wasn't the first time he saw it in 15, 16, that Obradovich used it before. And there are clips in 2002, the first time probably that we saw it, or there was like a video from that. And also in 2009, there was like EuroLeague, probably Panathinaikos or Obradovich using a little bit more. I don't remember how often they use it, if it was maybe one call that it happens and like that. But that's what I heard Trinkerry saying that in a few interviews, and he recognized it. I say, okay, I never heard that. Maybe he had been more years involved on this one. I'm not gonna deny. I'm not gonna argue with Trinkerry.
yeah, Trinqueri is Trinqueri. No, but I think that it was not used at the time so much, and it's used more now because everyone now is able to shoot the 3 points. So
Yeah,
because you are getting more and more stretch bigs and more bigs and frees that can shoot really well the ball, You use the 5 men just to roll deep to
Yeah.
catch a lot. But I have a funny story about Spain pick and roll that happened not this summer, but the summer before this one. So summer 2022, that I was doing a summer camp with the national team, with a women's national team in Portugal. And the head coach out of the sudden told me, do you know why they play Spanish pick and roll? And I was caught off guard. I wasn't understanding the question. How come? But no. Think about it. And I was thinking about like 100 and different possibilities of doing. No, because they want to feed the roll, or no, because they want to stress the shooter and take it. And they said, no. Think it's simpler. If you put two shooters on the corners, who's gonna help? And I was got it. Okay, that makes sense. So, and now I'm seeing a lot of Spain pick and roll actions, and none of those, or almost none of those, use the corners to defend. So it's almost a 3-on-3 action. Sometimes it's like you don't even put the picker, the Spain picker, you don't even go off. You may play a 2v2 and the other one just follows. So it's amazing how an action can adapt the whole game. So before you were always, I'm doing this bump, I'm doing the first bump on the second side, the second bump. And now he's going to no, we go into isolated section. No one helps on the weak side, no one helps on the strong side. So also the question I have for you is, how can we change so much of the game with just one action? Like it changed so much. Do you feel like it changed so many ways of approaching a pick and roll because of one pick? So
Yeah, I think this question is not only for the Spanish. I think it's because the game developed so much to the 3 point line,
mm-hmm,
and as you mentioned before, like all the bigs nowadays, most of the bigs, when we are talking about mid and high level, they could shoot. So
mm-hmm,
it's not as before as you play the ball inside for the high low for the post ups. Nowadays there is so less post ups. So in order to be more efficient as shooting the three and scoring more points, they use the 3 point line. So in order to get most points, if you get, as you mentioned, two shooters plus my third shooter is the guy who's setting the screen, the second screen, who is gonna be in the paint? Nobody
mm-hmm.
wants to be in the paint. I would rather give a 2 point like instead of a three, because that's the mentality nowadays. I think that the Spanish pick and roll was an explosion. From the 3 point line, and also I don't know if you remember, like in 2016, 17, James Harden was using so much for
Mm-hmm.
James Harden for him to finish at the basket or for a wide open three, and Mike D'Antoni was the coach who said, "Okay, I'm falling in love with this action," and from now
If
on, everyone uses
if you
it.
remember, Mike D'Antoni has a really great history here in Italy, in Europe. So he always look for early games, and he
Yeah.
always follows the European game for sure, for sure, for sure. Yes, what you're saying. Sorry.
No, yeah, that's it. That's what I think. Like, thank you to the 3 point line range and the players shooting more, and the pick and roll is a lethal gun. Let's put it in this way.
Mm-hmm. And for you, what's the best way to use spin pick and roll? Like I've seen middle spin pick and roll, I've seen side spin pick and roll, I've seen
Yeah.
spin pick and roll just straight away, pick.
Yeah.
I've seen from a DHO to a pin down to then a spin pick and roll. So for you, what's the best dynamic to use it as a coach for your personal favorite?
My personal opinion, I think like Spanish pick and roll, and it's an action that you need to caught the other team by surprise. It's not something I could play straight away. I tell you something. Last year, for example, we play a team that the last position of the games, they know they're going to use Spanish pick and roll. I remember we won that game by 20-30. We played really well on the boards and we defend really well a shooter team. So we give them a color. And I cannot say the color because I think they're still using the same color. So I'm not going to say the name of the color. So we say a color, and that was our way of defending the pick and roll
Mhm.
because it was nothing previous. It was just a guy, a pick in the middle, two wings in the corner. So we help a little bit, we collapse a little bit, and we also we avoid the big get hit, and we defending. So we defended really well because there was no previous action to concern about that. So for me, it doesn't matter how you want to play it. You can go from horn, from floppy, from handoff into the pick and roll, but it needs to be a previous action. It could be a cross screen, whatever you want, as which I don't know action fits your team because not every team could use the same action. But you need to hide it and then find a perfect spacing to hit the Spanish pick and roll.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the most efficient one if you put it in the middle. I think the middle one,
He has
if
more
you roll
space. Yes, yes.
hard, and then you got the other player coming, setting the screen or not even setting the screen, just run, sleeping and popping out. So that's for me the most efficient way
Mm-hmm.
to play it.
No, that's interesting. It's interesting that you talk about it because nowadays the game has a lot more dynamics. So the teams that play more static basketball, more set plays basketball, don't have that much success. So when you see what nowadays we talk a lot about flow, offensive flow, and all that stuff. When you go from one action to the other, and then out of a sudden, boom, you get hit by a
Yes.
train on a sprint pick and roll. So that's very important to say that if you have dynamic and if you have to guard 3 or 4 actions in a row and then you have to guard the Spain, maybe not that ready, but that's
Yeah.
like that's common sense, but it makes
Yes.
a lot of sense when you tell it. But also because everyone is using it now, I'm amazed because I'm a very strategic guy. I love strategy, I love chess and all that stuff. I'm amazed how people use the Spain pick and roll to disguise to create another action. Uh, for instance, I don't remember who exactly, but I saw it was a Spain pick and roll action in the middle, and it turns into a ball screen and the screener action for a pin down. So they inverted the pick and roll because
Yeah. Yeah.
the shooter was ready to pick and to follow. So if I pick and he goes wide, is always free. And then if the big collapse, our big is going, I was going straight to the basket. So this is for me like amazes me because from one action you can create a lot of things, a lot of things, a lot of things. And the question I have for you now is if you use a Spain pick and roll, like a middle Spain pick and roll, like you told,
Yeah.
um, how do you manage success on the Spain pick and roll? If you have a wide open three, if your big is rolling, what are you looking for a Spain pick and roll? You're looking for working with a handler or working for the big? Because there's these 2 ways of working. You can work for the handler or even 3, sorry, work for the handler, for the big roller, or for the shooter.
It's a very good question, though. Um, for me, I've been thinking too much about this, but I'm thinking, for example, the ball handler is the person in charge of getting read the situations. So for me, the most important guy is the guy with the ball. If you don't have a good passer, it doesn't matter if your big is open, or sorry, your big is rolling, for example, and you got the other shooter open. If you don't have a really good passer or a person who reads really well the game, it's impossible to execute it well. Even if the defense have mistakes and they give you a wide open lane, if your point guard or any player with the ball cannot read it, it's impossible. For me, the most important guy is the guy on the ball.
Mhm. So imagine like you have like a switching team. We are switching on almost everything, and the guard is getting like really is collapsing on the balls. Is getting to he has to come back for a little bit to create. How can you or how can we as a coach like from an action that is disturbed, so the timing is
Yeah,
off, the spacing is off, how can we recreate a different spacing to create another advantage for us? Because that's something that I've seen because the game is very physical nowadays. If I see now, I have Euro Cup games here, I have Serie A games, and
yeah,
they are very physical off the ball, so they allow a lot of physicality off the ball. So you disturb a lot of spacings and exact
yeah,
timings. How can we as coaches try to get not just in Spain pick, I'm talking about all the actions,
yeah.
reconnect with our spacing, reconnect with our timing?
Yes, I think it's a really good question because it's basically what was the problem we are facing every day. Basically, switching defense, how I gonna attack the switching defense. Of course, you can also, if you talk about the Spanish pick and roll, the first thing I could say is like, instead of probably if they are switching, you will try to, instead of wait for the second screen to happen, just slip the first
Sleep
screen,
the
so the
first,
second
claro.
screen, so you got a wide
Of
open.
course, of course, of
And
course.
if they try to switch that one, this is something that I was talking with a Greek coach this morning, that you can flare the fourth player who is outside, who could make even a flare for the guy coming off. So that was a wide open, and I don't know if many teams could be ready to say, am I switching this one? It's not supposed to be switching this one. Like what's happening now? I am, and for me the other thing that is key, probably if they are switching, you need to find the ways to find the mismatch, to punish the mismatch. That means like if they switch on the big and your big is against a small guard, you need to try to find that pass to the inside. If
Yes.
they, at some point, if the you can fit the big, that will layups against a small or a foul. So at some point they need to stop on doing that, or you will win the game. Just fit the big guy.
Yeah, I
Or
also think. Yeah, I also think like just matching with what you are saying or getting something into what you are saying. I think that if you create a good dynamic first of changing ball side or creating a disruption between guard and they have to switch late, or guard and big switch late, and then you go to our main action, maybe you have some spacing and some timing to cut off the action or to really play it. But I was now thinking about and now I have to coach Radina, that is he sent me a lot of stuff that he would do the analysis, like he said in the group, like you have here stuff to see tomorrow, from EuroLeague, from Jelko, that we were talking before about how to create a different dynamic, and Jelko Obradovic came with a very good like heated hidden Spain pick and roll off a ball, a baseline out of bounds,
yeah,
and the guy that does the out of bounds pass, the passer, goes in como se dice, goes behind the defender. That's the word. Goes behind the defender, and at the same time as the defender is going for the pick, is getting the Spain pick and roll on his head. So from this idea, what do you think could be like a good idea to have in our playbook about like a different dynamic of middle pick and roll, just straight middle pick and roll, like horns, and one goes down and it becomes a Spain pick and roll?
Oof, that's a good question. I think you in all your playbooks you need to have Spanish. I mean, I'm not saying this because I'm Spanish, but I think it's really really it's really really hard to defend it. Like if you are 1 second late, you are done basically. So for me, having like this play we spoke about, that Selko doing the ATO, and the guy who is inbounding the ball becoming the Spanish, I think it's really really nice, because nobody expects that. Like how, because the spacing is so limited on the side pick and roll. If you do it from the side, it's really hard. First of all, to execute it, and second time to defend it. Like I don't think many teams, or particularly I'm talking about myself, I don't practice too much how to defend the pick and roll from the side. So in the moment you don't prepare to that, your opponent have an advantage. So that's why I think this play we are talking about is so smart, like really really nice. And on that play that we are speaking about, I think like there is the shooter is not the person who is getting the hit. Is they feed the big on the mismatch,
So it's
and they
almost
got the feed.
it's almost like a screen, not a screen, but it's almost like a pick and roll action, and then a cross pick action or a shuffle.
Yes.
Not a cross pick, but a shuffle action, because
Yes, like
the timing is not like boom boom. It's like first
no.
pick and roll, and then 1 second later,
Yeah.
boom, from the back, the shuffle action. So I think also the timings can change, like because everyone is ready for the pick, and
Yes.
sometimes they're not ready for the pick and then stop and then another pick 1 second later,
Yeah.
or maybe the first peak very quick and the second very slow, or the first slow and the second very quick.
Yeah,
So also this dissociation of timings can be like a really good solution to
yeah,
create different actions for the teams.
yeah. The timings are the spacing are the key for me to play the Spanish. I think
So
those are the most important.
after talking about the what is the best action, what are the actions that can come from that. Let's go for the hardest part, the how can we teach it, how can we do it, what's the focus on a coach, where do you tell your players to look at. There's so many things to talk about this, because we can speak about everything, because if not, we're going to be here 34 hours a day talking about Spanish
Yeah,
pick and roll. But first question that I have to ask you, and I want your opinion on it. If you talking about youth teams, we teach it
yeah.
because it's such a high demand action in the high level. Do we teach it in youth teams under 18, under 16, under 20, or we just expect them to know how to play a back screen and the pick and roll on middle, and then you get it together, both of actions? What's your
Uh,
personal opinion?
I think is as a coach when when we get players from the senior level, there's a point that we expect them, but at the same time, I don't think we are like we don't teach it really well, or we are not. Sometimes we are not ready to teach it. So I was thinking about this before the podcast coming in, and maybe 16 is a good age, or if you got a really good 14s, they understand pick and roll, but that's very rare. Let's put it 16,
Mm-hmm.
like a normal 16. It doesn't need to be great. I think before to go to Spanish, you need to go like 2-0, like teaching so many details, like okay, how do you pass the ball, shoulder to shoulder, how and the footwork for the big, how am I rolling, okay. Then from that, when they start getting a little bit good with the passing, with the timing and everything, then I would put a defender 2 against 1. Then okay, which are the reads from here? What happens if the defense go over, go under? Then you go 2-2, and probably when you go 2-2, you are at the same time you are teaching the roller, the roll, the short roll, and the pop.
Mm-hmm.
That for me the pop is key because you're gonna mix it both together afterwards. So for me, then when you got, let's put the basic, let's do those 2v2s in a decent amount. You can read really well your point rolls well, your big rolls. Then you go 3 against 2, probably you, or 3 against 1, to make it a little bit simple. To say, listen, this is the first action. You're gonna get one first screen, and then there's a third option, a third screener to show, and you teach them how to do it. Maybe that defender is you as a coach
Mm-hmm.
to guidance what you can find, what are the difference. If the defense defend you this way, that way, then you progress it, and I could go 3 against 2, probably 3 against 2 to give them reads, and a third defender, not a real defender, but in the probably in the smile or a little bit on the paint, only on the paint, to avoid that low pass and to make it unreal, because probably it's not going to happen that often during the game. So I could put some sort of real ideas into
Mm-hmm.
the game, to our drills, and
Yes.
then I could put 3 on 3 when they start reading it. And we are talking about this one 2 minutes, 3 minutes, but we are talking about months of coaching. We are talking about a lot of time, a lot of repetition, a lot of learning for the players. It's not that simple. I think I could go that way until 3-3, playing a lot of 3-3 when they got the habit, and little by little, they playing more 4v4 or 5v5.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I could teach it.
Okay, coach, I'm going to. So you're saying, and that's the thing that I think is really important to understand, is that this takes months to work. It's not like 3 drills, 3 days, and a lot of things that I think it gets misconception nowadays on social media that when you see a nice drill or a nice way to approach things, you don't have the time to take it. You need months to take it. Like a Spain pick and roll, you have to dominate a lot of individual skills, and then you have to dominate a lot of individual tactical skills in order to do that. And I think it's like a misconception that coaches have. If you have like 2 or 3 drills that you could like do for a month, those are the best 3 drills that for you are the best to do to create a Spain pick and roll action. What would you do? You said 2v0, 3v0, 2v1, but in terms of individual skills, you have some drills that you can like incorporate on those drills that you were talking before.
I um I think more than drills on everything. I think the most important for me is like teach the players to read. I think if you teach the players to read, you
Mm-hmm.
teach those concepts. Like, okay, if this happens, you got this option and this option. If this not happening, if this is happening, you might have this option. Or if the defense give you, take what the defense gave you, basically. So for me, I could go a lot of, um, let's say they dominate the basics. I would do like a lot of 2 against 1, like trying to trick the defense.
Over number,
Like,
okay.
oh, okay, with
Mm-hmm.
advantage for the offense, just to teach them how to read well. 2 against 1, 3 against 2, and then play them a lot. 3v3, like 3 or 3 continues to 5 points or double points if you score from the Spanish, double point for the if you get the wide open shot and you score it.
Mm-hmm.
4v4, like I will try to implement a lot of playing. Like I believe that you can teach it, but until they play over and over and over and over and repeat it, they start understanding why we're doing this, what we can do. You can. There is
Yeah,
nothing
no,
else. I think.
that's interesting that you're saying that they have to play a lot to understand the action. Like that's the misconception that coaches have. Like we have to coach skills. No, we have to coach basketball. We have to play
Yeah.
basketball to coach it. So one thing that I got from when I was starting to hear Chris Oliver, even before Sarama, like on the beginnings of Chris Oliver and basketball immersion, one thing that he told one time on a podcast, he got on my head is like, why don't we start one practice someday randomly on a 5-on-5 and we say, now this is our new set play. We do boom, 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 without no more introduction, no more information. Why don't you try like to see what they come up with? So that's a thing that for me it's very important what you said. Like we have to play a lot. We have to do a lot of. We can constrain it after with points to see. Okay, now we want to see more of this. But I think it's important. Like we have to play it. We have to play a lot to dominate one action.
And what you said, like this is something when I took me years. Like when I went to Glasgow, I have this coach that he taught me a lot, and he was one of the day. He was like, just go to the practice, tell them what are we gonna do, let them play for 15, 20 minutes, do it, and then you add something, give them keep them playing, and then when you finish and everything, maybe you can do to a skill work to improve certain areas, how you roll it, how you pass it, whatever, like as a normal practice, and then go back to the end and play again. Let's see how they discover. And I think that's really nice. And but the only thing I'm not sure how it might work. Like if you go really good teams, like 14s, or and you go a little bit complex, I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna come up like with a little bit older groups, 16, 18s. They start coming
Mm-hmm.
up with a little bit more.
I think
But
I think I think you can do it with another 14, another 13, another 12, but you have
yeah,
to adapt your needs to their needs. So
uh,
maybe it's not that much of that if they make those passes, but if they can understand what's happening,
yes,
if they can see their teammate in front, if they can stop on the run, if there's someone in front of them. So I think we have to adapt the needs of the
yeah,
players to what we see. So we can do the same drill. And
absolutely,
I was talking to a coach yesterday about this. We were doing the battleship game.
yeah,
We trying to do different concepts with under 17, and he told me, how can I do it this with under 14 or 13? And I say, instead of putting flare actions, pick and roll actions, you put, let's play one-on-one from the corner, one-on-one from the wing, go back door, go to the rim. So you have to adapt always. And I think it's very important that you said that we have to play it, but we have to understand with who we are playing and what we want to teach also.
For
We are
sure.
getting off a little bit off topic, but it has to be said.
Yes,
It has to be said.
we need
And I
to.
have another question for you. In terms of teaching, basically the second pick is a back screen. So it's a
Yes.
back screen to the roller, and you go and you pop out. You teach it like a normal back screen, or you try to tell them you just have to engage with the big a little bit and then you just go straight, or it depends if you want to play with the big or if you want to play with the shooter. How's your
So
idea of
my
those?
so my idea, I think the first one is like normal back pick and they get open, and with the when they got a little bit the habit of doing that, I could say okay, now instead of doing the proper back pick, hit the pick, the defender of the pick. Now this time you're gonna just touch and go. So you give them the two options. How it could be like a proper back screen that maybe if you do a proper back screen, the pick is gonna have the roller wide easier to hit the roller. But if you teaching also the just touch and go, or not even touch and just go, you are giving like more options to the players, more reads to say, okay, we can do this as well, we can do that. And then when you face a defender, like we said before, like switching, for example, you
Mm-hmm.
don't need to say, hey, now we're doing this way. No, remember that in the back pick, we don't touch, we just go. And they will have different tools. They will have three different tools in one action. So for me, it's important to teach them the three of them. That's
And
why I would go with the
you were
first one.
talking before about the pop action from the big, so
Yeah,
the pick and pop action. Do you think it's it can be used as a Spain pick and roll action with a pop? Because we were talking, I was imagining if I have like a guard or a winger that can play post up, we
yeah,
can fake the Spain and do a
yeah,
pop with the big and seal with
yeah.
the winger to play off. Do you think that can be used as a read, or is something that has to be like, if we do now we do this, or it depends? Of course it depends on the team and depends on the players and all that stuff, but if it was to you, if you have a winger that has that capability of going with their back or posting up, how
Yeah.
would you tell them to play it? What are they looking for? Because he's a shooter and he can play post up. Like, let's do it. Do it like this.
Yeah, so you got in the second screen and the first screen.
The second. Like
The
I'm
second.
doing the Spain. I'm doing the back screen, but I can post up also.
Okay, so maybe instead of like if you wanted to do it the simple thing, obviously if we're talking about youth teams, you need to practice. You need to say
Mm-hmm.
this is gonna do it. But if you are going about senior levels like men 18s with a good level, you can do it in a timeout. I feel it could be like first screen be the pop, the big instead of roll really hard, hit the screen and pop. So you have always like instead of hitting like you're gonna affect the screen, you will try to get the big your second player, your second screener, and the high post for a post up, or
Mm-hmm.
even go through like try to pop when the big pops. You pass it to the big, and then you seal, and you got the post up from your guard or wing inside instead of do the second screen. And I
Mm-hmm.
would go that way. Or
Okay.
let's say
That
you don't want to play the Spanish. I hit the wing, like I play the Spanish, but instead of play the second screen, I go to the post up and I do triangle, ball to the wing, and then you will find a post up
mm-hmm.
for that player, for example.
No, that I'm thinking about that because normally nowadays they don't use the corners to create defensive coverages. So the corners stay up. They can do a little bit of a help just
Yeah,
to create some confusion. But I was thinking about there's so much space in the middle
yeah,
that we have to use. So the last couple of questions before getting to the end of it.
yeah,
Um, First, when we're talking about the ball handler,
yeah.
when you teach it, where do you say, or where do you teach them to look? So Do you want them to look to the roller first? They want him to look to the help side if someone helping the roller? Do you want to look at the shooter? What are they looking? Do you want them to look for a gap to shoot the mid range or to go straight to the basket? What do you teach them to look first?
So for me, there's a key point for the ball handler to see and what to decide for is the free throw line. And I'm not saying this, Scary also say that
Mm-hmm.
like so you need to teach the ball handler first of all to get the screen, the first screen, and read what's happening with the screener's defender. If he's showing, if he's dropping. So if he's, let's say that he's dropping, the first thing I could look at, I could attack straight away,
Mm-hmm.
engage that guy. If I could attack to that drop, I will go, and if my big is rolling at the same time, I could finish or I could hit it. After that, let's say that there is hedge or something like that. I cannot. I need to slow down a little bit and then wait for my second for my shooter. So I could say, okay, I cannot play 1-on-1 for me. I need to find somebody else who might be open. It's not me. It's next option. So let's see if my big is I slow it down after the screen. I look at my guy. Oh, it's open. Perfect. You hit that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe pocket pass, a really quick pocket pass because he's rolling and the defense is a little bit got the stack on the screen and go through that. But let's say there's no option. Okay, let's say the defense make a good defense, stop me down, show or hedge or really hard hedge, and I need to hold the ball a little bit more. My big rolls, but there is nothing. And then I got a third option, my shooter. So my shooter let's say the second defender is really worried about the roller because we scored 2 times through him, and now they say, okay, the volley cannot score on a third time. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I say, okay, feed my shooter. My shooter is wide open. Feed them. So that's my how I go through them. Or I would say to my players, okay, the first option, if you go to the basket, go hard to the basket. That's for you. Score it. Okay, but I also say to my point guards and my guards like they are they need to fit everyone, so they need to be the person who make everyone's happy. Like I got the responsibility of my whole team to
Mm-hmm.
make sure everyone's get a touch, everyone gets a score, everyone gets a good pass. So that's for me, that's my my point guard needs to be smart, needs to be able to pass, and need to be really humble, need to be able to say, okay, maybe I would rather you score, you are happy, and I could keep playing and I make you going. That's why for me it's really important the point guard. That's the key for me.
Okay. Last question, coach. Because I last year I saw no the last 2 years I saw a lot of Barcelona and coach Jessica Vicios, and they
Yeah.
had an action mainly for Abrines or for Kuric,
For the shooter, yeah,
the
the
shooter
pin
for
down.
the shooter, that they do either the pin down or they had one action that they would go for ghost action, and then out of
Yes,
the ghost they would go for a flare.
yes,
So my question is, can we consider that a Spain pick and roll just to get a little bit of a debate here? Can we consider, because it's not going to the basket, but it's a screen the screener action with a picker. So
yeah.
theoretically, can we call it a Spain pick and roll or no?
For me, no. For me, I would call it or pin down because the first one is to like a pin, middle pick, if I not remember, then go to the shooter,
Mm-hmm.
and the second one it was more like a ghost screen and then into a flare. So I call it
See,
flare.
ghost flare,
So
yes, yes,
I
yes.
could call it flare for me. But nowadays everyone could call it everything. For me, it's not Spanish.
But now you got me thinking, maybe just Cavicius thought about the Spain and reversed it to an horizontal
Different.
way of
Yes.
thinking and said, let's try this, because it was a very innovative thing. Of course,
Yeah.
I don't see every game and I don't see every action that is played, but I think he used two or three things that for me was a first. That was one, and the other one was playing when Barcelona was playing the post, they would always cut with Calates to the short corner, the opposite
Yes.
side,
Yes.
to create a difficult help from the guard. So that just to point that out here. But okay, so for you, no
Two,
pick and roll, no
no,
no Spain.
I don't think it's Spanish. But two things about that. I one of the things Saras was very strict and everything, but when you watch a few games, that happens to me in the last 2-3 years he was there. Like he used something, so many simple things that you go to EuroLeague and you see like, oh, this action, they need to that action, they do
Mhm.
that action, and you're lost. He was using two actions and then something very simple, particularly after ATOs or something like that, or runs, that they give them the shots so easy. And I remember that pin down action that it was so simple. I say, but everyone could do this. And he was like reinventing everything, going to a little bit simplicity. Let's put it
Mhm.
this way, simple. And he got so many good shots like from that. Like
Yeah, because
as you
nowadays,
said,
I think also nowadays you want to play. If you play a faster pace, you have a higher opportunity to win the
yeah,
game because you shoot more times. The shooters are becoming even better shooters. The players are becoming like
yeah,
if you have Mirotic, Abrines, Kuric in a team with a passer like Calates,
yeah, of course.
even Brandon Davis, you have to use it. So
Yeah.
for me, it makes
And
makes a lot of sense.
second thing you say about Calates. So the about Calates on the dunker spot, it was an adjustment because I remember that was 2 3 years ago, right? I'm not
See,
mistaken.
see, two things I believe. 2 years I
Uh,
believe. See, see.
I remember like I think it was Real Madrid or something like, or I don't know if Real Madrid or Vasconia. I think they were playing like or Super Cup or at the beginning of the few games at the beginning, they let Calate shoot because they know he wasn't a
Mhm.
great 3 point shot. That's why after a few 3 4 games, Saras came here and say, okay, Calates, now you're gonna be in the dunker spot. And I remember plays from Mirotic to pass into the dunker spot, and Calates is not
Also
tall,
because
so he
Calates
passed.
is like 6'3", 6'2", so he's big. He's a big guard, big guard.
Yeah.
But yeah, coach, for the finish, I call it
Yes.
the rapid fire shooting.
Okay.
So we have some questions and you have
Perfect.
to respond it for with the first thing that comes to your head.
Okay.
So if you can have if you what age did you start coaching?
What
What
age I
age?
start coaching? It's 18, 17,
18, just
something
like
like
me.
that.
Perfect. 17,
Yes.
perfect. If you have an advice for your 17-year-old self that is starting coaching, what it would be?
I could say don't be afraid, and you will learn from the mistakes. Like don't be afraid of doing mistakes. Like everyone had mistakes, and you learn from that. I could say that.
Bravo, bravo. For you, two of the best characteristics in a coach slash a leader of a squad
Yeah.
of a team.
First of all, I think flexible. You need to adapt yourself where you're going to because you are not going the same team, and then you need to like. I think you need to be honest. I think honestly is what is help you to connect with your players.
Hmm.
Then we can talk about how smart you are, how many plays you got. But if your players don't believe in you, you can be the best mind in the game. Even if your players don't trust you or don't believe what you're saying, you're done. I think that's the most.
It's amazing because you said the two best characteristics for you is not about basketball, it's about person skill, people skills. So no, because nowadays it's who has the better
Yeah.
soft skills has the most success in the world.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
reality. Last one.
I
If you
go for
could
it.
recommend one book to read for the rest of your life as a coach, what would it be?
Oof. That's a tricky one
Eh.
because um, I read one really good one about not basketball about Roger
It doesn't
Federer's
have to
life.
be about basketball.
Okay,
My favorite book is not about basketball also.
okay,
So
about Roger Federer's life, like, and it was so impactful for me because at the age of 15, we always remember Roger Federer playing tennis like super elegant, easy. He could hit the best amazing point so easy, and he was like crazy shooting, hitting the rackets. He almost stopped playing tennis at the age of 15, 16, 17, and how he changed his mind, how he grew. That was a lesson for me.
very good. So do you remember the name of the book or
I could look it for you, but I think it was Roger Federer's
okay, I'll put it
life.
after. I'll put it after for
Yes,
those who are
we
listening
I
now.
look it afterwards. Yes.
Okay. So coach, that's a wrap for me. Just really, really big thank you for you. If you want to say something for those who are listening at home or at the street, if you have any message for every
Yeah.
coach and player that is listening, straight away. Fire.
First of all, thank you for bringing me here. It was really nice to talk about basketball, doing this together. It was fun. Like, and also I want to say thank you all the coaches who helped me to to get investigation, who get me feedback from Milos to Costas to all the people from my club who helped me out, and nothing. I just like I hope the basketball community keep helping each other, keep pushing each other, keep talking between each other. Like that's the way we met, and I hope I could keep meeting people around the world and learning about basketball, and hopefully we ended up a few years facing each other in a really
That would
the A
be that
division.
would that
That
would
could
be
be amazing.
amazing. That
That's
would
the
be
goal.
amazing. But yeah, coach, just
The,
talking about that for everyone that is listening at home or on the phone or Spotify or whatever, just connect with us. You have after we have our tags on Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff. This podcast is also for that, is to give voice to those who normally don't have it or don't use it, because I think everyone has a voice. So even if you're listening to this and you want to share something about basketball, talk to me, and you can be invited to the next podcast also. Coach, really big thank you. Gracias. I hope we can connect soon and be also try to connect physically soon and be together soon, because we are more closer to each other now in Sweden and Italy. And yeah, thanks a lot again, and we'll see you.
thank you. Grazie. Obrigado.
Bravo, bravo. Bravo, ciao.